Jared. Jared got started winter break a few years back, sold 15,000 in his fast start, sold another 15,000 the next couple of weeks. Jared sold over $100,000 his first year on the job. Jared then decided to take some time off, and he went and pursued another job. Then he realized, having a different perspective, hey, I miss a lot of the things about Cutco. I miss the people. I miss the autonomy, the flexibility. And so Jared came back this last year. And so this last year was his first full year back in action. Jared is on our events team. He does sell in presentations like you all. He also does service calls. He does a little bit of everything. And last year, in 2022, Jared sold $180,000 at Cutco. So he made 90 grand this last year selling knives. I think he took like 8 vacations or something like that as well. And so I asked him specifically to talk on service calls. I'm sorry, on signature sets. So I want you to pay really close attention to this. Listen to the language. Try and pull out the little nuggets to say this can make a big difference in my presentation, and we'll go from there. So Jared, the floor is all yours.
Sweet. How's it going, everybody? So I'm going to be talking about signature sets today. I honestly think I've sold more signature sets than homemaker sets, and that's just because I believe it's a better set than the homemaker. You get a lot more out of it for a better price, honestly. So 4 main key factors I'm going to be talking about today is number 1, creating urgency. Number 2 is going to be creating value. Number 3 is price perspective. And then I have some key phrases in there for you guys too. And then lastly, it's just belief in it. So number 1, creating urgency. Why should people buy from us really in the first place, whether it's a signature set, a homemaker set, or even a piece? Really, it's just selling yourself. And I think one of the biggest key factors into me selling signatures or anything at all is my goal sharing. So making sure you guys have really good goal sharing. I know Alex has a video of me on YouTube talking about goal sharing. I think that's a really good resource that you can use. Just making sure that you're talking about your goals within Cutco, what you're trying to sell, whether it's for, your fast start or for the push, or for like the month or for the year. Make sure you're talking about that. But also, I like to incorporate a lot of my other goals in life. So like I compete in bodybuilding. I always talk about that. Like buying my first investment property. And that's just that's really getting people bought into you for who you are. Another big thing with creating urgency is making sure that you're asking the right questions. Because sales 101 is whoever asks the most questions is in control of the conversation. So asking questions at the beginning of the demo of what kind of knives do they have? How long have they had them for? How are they holding up? Do you ever have to sharpen them? And sometimes these can be really good, pain questions. And when you're creating a pain point for someone, it creates urgency in them getting something that's going to work really well for them. So again, it's, how long have you had your set? What kind do you have? Do you sharpen them? Another really good question that I use is, have you guys ever considered upgrading your knives? It's not usually something that's on the top of people's priority, like their list of things to do. But I think when you bring it up and you create those pain points for people, they realize, oh yeah, we could use some good new knives. So have you guys ever considered upgrading your knives? And then creating value. So I don't know when you guys learn the 3-set close. I think it's in advanced training. Is that right, Alex? The 3-set close in advanced training. Okay, cool. So make sure you're showing all the sets, no matter what. Even if at the beginning of the demo, someone's like, I'm not buying knives today, show everything, because you never know. I've had people who tell me at the beginning of the demo that they're not buying anything today, and then they end up buying a homemaker, a signature, or an ultimate. It's happened before. So make sure that you're showing everything, because you never know. But really with the value, are you guys selling on price, or are you guys selling on value? When people see the value, which you should be selling on versus price, when people see the value in things, they're going to buy it if it creates value for them. The price won't matter. So what is better in the signature set? Well, number 1, you get the choice between the steak knives or the table knives. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't want, a big steak knife. A good way to kind of get around that before it's even brought up is comparing it to the trimmer. What I found with selling signature steaks is that the steak knife is the most comparable knife to the trimmer. Now, the trimmer, Miss Jones, that's the most used knife in our sets is the trimmer. So now when you have your steak knives, if your trimmer's in the dirty dishwasher, the dirty sink, you can go ahead and grab one of your steak knives and use it for the same thing. So not only do you get to use it for like a nice dinner, but you can also use it for, all around stuff, anything the size of your fist. It'll work great for. And then the 4 other pieces that you get in it, I think are the 4 best pieces. I use them all the time. Number 1, the super shears. Who doesn't use the scissors around the house or in the kitchen? Everyone does. I think everyone has 6 pairs of scissors just laying around because most people's scissors are junk. Well, why not just have one really good pair that has one central location in your home right there in the set with everything because it fits in the block, which is great. Then you get the cheese knife. Guys, the cheese knife is the number 1 most sold knife that Cutco makes. It's the number 1 bestseller. Make sure you say that. That creates urgency and value in buying the signature set because it comes with it, right? And then, make some jokes with it, call it the holy knife. You can only use it on Sundays. But also make sure that you emphasize that the cheese knife is not only used for cheese, but anything sticky or starchy. Not a lot of people cut block cheese anymore. A lot of people buy shredded cheese, right? So make sure, I call it the everything sticky knife. So anything sticky or starchy, Mrs. Jones, whether it's cheese, apples, cucumbers, potatoes, tomatoes, anything like that. And potatoes, it's phenomenal on. It's crazy how good it is. I think someone in our house cut up a whole potato last night with the cheese knife. I saw a bunch of potatoes laying around on the cutting board and the cheese knife next to it. Might have been Alex. I don't know. And then you get the 5-inch Petite Santoku. I call this the baby chopper. Now, Mrs. Jones, I don't chop babies, but it works great for everything else, right? There's a little fun joke with it. But the baby chopper, I like it a lot because it's just small, lightweight. It's my mom's favorite knife. I think once she upgraded from her homemaker to the signature set, the 5-inch Santoku was the knife that she used the most. She uses it a lot more than the petite chef. And Mrs. Jones, the nice thing about having 2 chef knives in your kitchen now is if you and your husband or you and anyone else are both cooking at the same time, you don't have to fight over a chef knife anymore. Now you got 2 to work with. And then the Hardy slicer. So what's great with the Hardy slicers, I call it the Grill Master knife. This knife is phenomenal for cutting up cooked meats. I personally cut up, my cooked chicken with it every couple days. I like to tell stories with a lot of the pieces, just my mom using the Petite Santoku, me using the Hardy slicer. Stories sell, facts tell. So I think as long as you're telling them the facts of what it's used for and then incorporating some sort of story with it, I think that'd be great. People will buy into it a lot more. Another thing is creating an imagination perspective for someone. So throwing stuff out there at them hey, Mrs. Jones, imagine how nice it will be to get rid of all of your knives in your junk drawer and just have one simple block in one location on your counter. Imagine if, Mrs. Jones, you never had to worry about replacing your knives ever again. Imagine if, Mrs. Jones, you never had to worry about replacing your knives ever again. Imagine if, Mrs. Jones, every single time you pulled a knife out of your block, it worked like it was brand new every single time, over and over again. That would be great, right? Now, when you're telling them to imagine if, it paints a picture in their head of what it would be like to have it on their counter. And that creates a lot of value for people. If they think in their head, oh, I got to pull out these crappy knives and keep using them. But then if they think in their head, holy crap, I could have this nice knife block on my counter and it's going to work great every time. I'm going to love that. You're selling them more on it. You're creating value. Also, emphasize that, for me personally, I'm able to emphasize this because I have sold more signatures than homemakers. It's like, this is the set that most of my customers buy. Not because it's more expensive, but because it's the best set that we make. Personally, that's what I think. And I think when you show that, it really creates a lot of value. It's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses. I had a customer this last summer, John Adamick. He got 2 signature steaks from me, one for him, one for his business partner. A week later, his friend Nate called me, bought a signature set. I tried to sell him on the ultimate set, but he said, no, I want to do the same one that John did. And then guess what? The last week of this year, their other friend, Jeremy, called me and said, hey, we need a new knife set that's good. I heard you're the guy. I want to get the same set as Nate and John. And it took me 5 minutes and I sold another signature set like that. So it's just like keeping up with the Joneses. I think that as long as you present it that way, hey, this is the set that most of my customers do. I think a lot of people want to follow up with that, right? Then I got price perspective and key phrasing. When it comes to the price perspective of the signature versus like the homemaker, when the homemaker's $14.19 and then it jumps up to $21.33 with the table knives or $24.13 with the steak knives, you guys, that is not a huge jump. You're getting 2 extra table knives and 4 extra pieces for like $700 more when all of the pieces range $100 to $200. And then when you jump up to $24.13, you get 10 big steak knives, so not the little table knives anymore. You get the big ones and those 4 extra pieces. So that's 14 extra pieces for only $1,000 more. 14 different ones. If you priced out, I think 10 steak knives and those 4 extra pieces, it's going to cost like around a homemaker set, right? So you're getting that much more for a really good price. And the 5-pay on it, if you guys sell on the 5-pay, it jumps from, what is it, $309 to $427 or $483. If people are already saying yes to the homemaker set and they're splitting it up, they can afford to jump up to that, right? Once you get someone to say yes to a certain price, it's not much harder to double it, if not triple it. And then I have some really good key phrases for you guys that you can use when you're closing. Mrs. Jones, Cutco is pricey, but you get what you pay for. And you will use this every day for the rest of your life. I'll repeat that again. Cutco is pricey, but you get what you pay for. And you'll use this every day for the rest of your life. Mrs. Jones, what else can you spend $400 on a month that you will use every day for the rest of your life? Except you only have to pay it for 5 months. What else can you spend $400 on a month that you will use for the rest of your life, and it only lasts 5 months to pay it? There's not much out there, right? You can compare it to like a car payment, which is, I think, like a brand new car payment is around there, like $400 or $500. And they're going to keep paying that unless they buy the car out or they get a new car. And that payment is always going to be there. Same thing with like a phone bill, same thing with like a mortgage payment. It's never going away, right? Unless they pay it all off, which is a lot more money than a knife set. And are you, typically using your car every single day? Not necessarily. Whereas you got to eat every single day. You're going to be using the knives every single day, multiple times a day, if you're cooking at home. Another one is, being very honest and open with your customer. If they're on the fence about it, you can be straight up and say, hey, if you think it's going to break the bank, don't do it. Most salespeople don't do that. Most salespeople are really pushy. If you kind of pull back like that, they'll be like, oh, wait, well, it's not going to break the bank. And right there, it tells you that they can do it. So offer, a better deal. If they're like, if they say they can do it, if it's not going to break the bank, right? So if you think it's going to break the bank, don't do it. And then another imagine how much more enjoyable cooking will be when you have these tools in your kitchen. Imagine how much more enjoyable cooking will be when you have these tools in your kitchen. Everybody got that? And then lastly, I got belief. I really think that belief comes from getting use out of these things. If you don't own them, it's going to be, typically harder to believe in them. So I know on Vector Connect, you can order some of the pieces for a cheaper price. Or you could always go through your manager maybe and buy it at a third. But get the scissors, get the cheese knife, get the 5-inch Santoku, and get the Hardy slicer. Use them in your kitchen. If you are doing in-person appointments, bring them and show them. But if you are just doing virtual appointments, get them in your kitchen, use them. You can pull them up and show them on camera. I don't have one of the pieces, but I keep some Cutco next to me so I can show it on camera. And I think it creates a lot more value when the customer knows that you actually have it too, and you actually use it too. And when you use it, you're going to believe in the product even more because you know how good it is. Cutco's the best of its kind. If you use it every single day, you're going to have so much more belief and confidence when presenting it to somebody as well. And just know it's possible. I think the reason I've had such good success from the beginning is because I sold a signature set in my fast start, and that allowed me to believe that it is possible. And I think, you can take, if you haven't sold a signature set, look in your chat. If someone else is selling it, you can sell it too. Right. And I think the more that you do start selling signature sets, the more you believe in it, the more normalized it gets. Before I had even sold a signature set, I was like, damn, is someone actually going to buy this? And then someone did. And it was almost like, whoa, people do really, really do this. I think it's important to understand that if other people are doing it, you can do it too. Just like, if Alex could run a marathon, I can do it too. Right. So I just have a little bit of a call of action to you guys is number one, get some of the pieces if you can. If you can afford it, do it. Talk to your manager about it. I know there's a way to get some of them on Vector Connect. And start using them every day because they are going to be the best knives in your kitchen if you don't have Cutco already. And then number two is just who's going to be the first person to sell a signature set after this meeting. I'm excited to hear. So good luck to you guys. If you have any questions, I think I might have like a couple more minutes. Does anybody have any questions?
So I guess I'll just ask you a question. So do you use all those questions when going over like the sets and stuff with the customers, or do you kind of pick and choose which ones you do?
For like the key phrases?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't go, over all of them. I think it's important to at least incorporate one. And I think it's just kind of based on how the customer's feeling. Like, if the customer is like kind of sticker shocked, by the price, it's like, okay, yeah, Cutco is pricey, but you do get what you pay for. And, you're going to use these every day for the rest of your life. Like that's a good example that I can show. Or if someone's like very on the edge, you say, if you think it's going to break the bank, don't do it. And then they'll be like, oh, it's not going to break the bank at all.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Any other quick questions?
Yeah, real quick. How do you go about in like upgrades, for example? So let's say someone settles for the homemaker or something of the sort. How do you give the proposition of a signature, if you would?
Yeah, I mean, if you go through the 3-set close and they pick the homemaker set, they say yes. Don't try to upgrade them or upsell them until you get their credit card number, right? And if you know that they really liked like the cheese knife or like the super shears and stuff, and you haven't given any of that for free yet, be like, hey, Mrs. Jones, just so you know, when you buy Cutco, it's like Costco. The more you buy, the better deal I can give you. So, just for laughs, do you want to see what it would look like if you did the signature set instead of the homemaker set? What kind of a deal I can give you or more free stuff? I think that's some really good key phrasing that you can use, and make sure you do it after you get the card. That's a little bit more advanced, but sometimes if you do it before you get the card, they might just think you're being super pushy and they might not do it at all. I think it's happened to me once. But after you get the credit card, they're already buying it. It's not super hard to upsell them on something else like that. So I think did you get that key phrasing down? Okay, cool.
Thank you. God bless.
I think that's it. I don't know who's speaking next, or if Nick is still here.
You know I am. All right, let's give Jared a round of applause, everybody. Congratulations. You learned how to sell some Siggies, baby. Dude, fire stuff. Okay, I need everybody to participate in this. Go to the chat box. Type to everybody. Type your number one nugget. What was your number one thing you learned most from Jared? Throw that in the chat. Also put a star next to that too, right? That way you'll remember it better. And if you tell other people, you'll remember it. Hey, if you copy somebody else and it's the same tip, that's also okay. But everybody participate in this. Let's get the creative juices flowing a little bit. Jared, once again, thanks, man, for your preparation and delivering an awesome message. So let's get him off here. Bye. All right.